Yn Ataireachd bhuan cloin foim na Ataireachd. Ha torre na chuan mar chuanas lumsen am
When clocks turn back, strong tides come barging in, ticking away the coastline with each hour. They are dark waves full while land is wearing thin. They meet to clash in battles seas must win, grinding dune and rock with savagery and power. When clocks turn back, strong tides come barging in. We feel the whirl of winter winds begin to rage while skies and far horizons glower, with dark waves full while land is wearing thin. And all men crouch, too conscious of their sins, the stains that rain and storm can never scour. When clocks turn back, strong tides come barging in. They step on shores where whipped sand scorches skin, or quaysides that both spume and shingle shower. The dark waves full while land is wearing thin. This is the season oceans start to sing, triumphant in their discord, loud and sour. When clocks turn back, strong tides come barging in. There are dark waves full, while land is wearing thin. As an islander, I am used to high winds. As an islander too, I am used to high tides. Yet, I cannot recall any night in my whole life being as bad as that night was in January 2005. We could hear the slates scuttle from the roof. We could feel the windows coming in, the doors opening and closing around the house. It was a terrifying night. And what was even more terrifying, however, was the following morning, when we discovered that 5 people whom we knew were dead. They had been killed trying to escape their home in the middle of a storm. There were 2 young children, an older man and a young couple, all dead, having fled their house when the tide washed around their home. I'm not going to talk too much about that, because even now the thought of that is painful for me. It affected very close friends of mine. It was members of their family that was lost. However, what I'm going to talk about is the feeling of devastation I watched that particular day. We saw fences being ripped up, having been ripped up, taking the slates from houses. We saw sheds where all the wood had disappeared, metal too, flung everywhere, vans put on their side, lorries toppled. It was, I think, by far the worst storm I'd ever experienced in my life. And what made it even more worse, and it was the following day when we actually went around the coastline of Benbecula and South Uist, looking for bodies, looking for people's bodies, trying to find a way to the bladder rack, trying to find a way through the tide to find human flesh. All of us hoping that we would not be the one to find them, but hoping too that they would be found.
Yn Ataireachd bhuan cloin foim na Ataireachd.
It seemed as if the sea had balked all that choked its depths and shallows in the dark of night before. The twist and knot of fishing nets, snarled and kelp and bladderwrack, tied in a net of fencing, acres from the shore, with rusted iron markers, the punch bag of a plastic boy, and near the road an anchor, wedged within a wall-less garden, blasted and destroyed. Yet still we searched among it, holding nerve and breath as we disentangled human flesh from debris, wishing that someone in our number would find death, but hoping this task would pass us over, that it would not be ourselves, certain that this discovery would haunt us with its faces, each identity clear, despite the blows and bruising, looking at us in the darkness with still and deep intensity. Some people will tell you that there's no such thing as global warming, that it's all a scientific fairy story and we should have no belief in it whatsoever. But I know from living in Uist for 10 years that you could see the real effects of global warming. The tide ripping away the shoreline, dunes washed away, the land shifting continually. And this is having a dramatic effect, particularly on South Uist, which is actually being transformed into not one island, not two islands, but perhaps in the long term 3 islands, with this tide coming in. We have the power to do something about this. We have the power to make sure that land remains, below the feet of people in South Uist and in other parts of the world. That's our choice to make, but it is a real issue and it will have real effects on people and, as I have discovered, on human life itself. Remembering Uist. When we stood upon the island, we were aware that there were places where bare earth had turned to water, sand given way to high flood, that month by month had altered the dunes that lined our coast, with lochs becoming wider, stretching deeper, further inland, trickles transformed to streams, streams changed into rivers. Each storm severed landmarks, our hold on soil now loose and liquid. Some said that in another decade we too might float away, blood and nerve and membrane swept up within the fervour of these waves prising at land, till man's grip was broken, torn and snatched forever by the tide.
Reform na Ataireachd.